never smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditsies. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz here, and that's right, season 7, and I have incredible guests in the back waiting to come, and we're going to speak about blissful without shame today. We're going to talk about intimacy and love and connection, lust, cravings, all of that good stuff. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in and supporting Miss Liz. I want to thank everybody for all the congratulations on my new granddaughter, Ophelia Marie Sage Laughlin, was born on January 18th. She came early. She didn't want to stay in, so she came 17 days early. So she is here and she is doing well. So thank you all for that. Let's get started. Let's get into Miss Liz's season 7. Let's keep rolling and let's keep pouring these teas and getting them out there. So let's get started with the disclaimer, and then I have a beautiful intro, and we're going to get Freddy and Elsbeth in here, and we're going to spill some tea today together for all you couples out there. So grab your hands, hold each other, a lot of touching, a lot of feeling. We want to really get into connection today with Valentine's Day. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicated to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I, Miss Liz, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decisions that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you have any questions or if you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email, bookingmissliz@gmail.com, or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect the wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome back to Tea Time with Miss Liz. You know, there are some conversations that feel informative, and then there are conversations that feel transformative. Today feels transformative because we are welcoming back two souls who don't just teach intimacy. They embody presence, gentleness, and consciousness awareness in the way they speak, the way they listen, and the way they hold. Joining us again from Chicago are the beloved intimacy educators and co-founders of the TantraNova Institute, Dr. Elsbeth Meuth and Freddy Zental Weaver. Elsbeth and Freddy, it truly feels like welcoming family back to Tea Time table. The topics you carry are not always easy ones. Desire, pleasure, intimacy. These are words many people have been taught to whisper or feel ashamed of. But the way you speak about them, you remove fear and replace it with understanding. You remind us that desire is not something to run from. It is something to meet with awareness, with compassion, and with responsibility. And that changes everything. So everyone listening, take a breath, let your shoulders soften, allow yourself to simply listen without judgment, because today's cup is about indulgence. It's about integration. Elsbeth and Freddy, welcome back. We are so grateful you are here. Let me get these guys in and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hey, Miss Liz, how are you?
I am good, and I am so happy to have family back because you guys are family. You guys have been on Teatime a couple of times, so I am really happy to have you back.
Yeah, and congratulations on the new one you have in your family.
Yeah, my little granddaughter came a little early, so that was nice. She was
exciting.
she was due February 3rd, and she came on January 18th, so she came a couple weeks early.
New life. Yeah.
So let's get into today's topic. I'm going to give you guys the floor, and I'm just going to pop in some questions, but we're going to go with the flow of you guys today because you guys are the guests. So just pour your tea away.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
First, thank you again.
yeah.
We love to be with you and your spirit, and where you are taking this show is just amazing, has been amazing. So we want to share about.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to thank you for the show and thank Elsbeth Meuth here for us both founding TantraNova Institute here in Chicago 25 years ago. And being on your show and continuing this work is really just our contribution to the expanding consciousness of what's possible in our lives. Excited to unpack some of this as we move along with the show today.
Yeah. So it's all about intimacy. It's Valentine's Day, and intimacy in the heart, intimacy in the mind, intimacy in our spiritual self, and intimacy in our sexual self. It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
And we want to explore further today. And that was really your idea, Miss Liz, to go further into our energy that we call life force sexual energy, and look at what this energy comes with, all the way from the lusting to the craving to the temptations to the love, the intimacy, the bliss, the spiritual ascending.
Yeah. At the core, this work is really about us as individuals collectively uncovering what's possible in terms of our connectedness that we share and the ease and grace and flow in which we can be our authentic selves and bring forth our deepest desires and dreams. Mm-hmm. And so the practices that we've been teaching at TantraNova are really practices that assist one to get out of what we call this clay we look into the world from, all the stuff that we've appropriated as the truth and belief, to then move in with grace, ease, and flow to more love or whatever it might be that you want in your life.
Really, to live fully self-expressed, be that in the bedroom, be that in my relationship with myself, be it in my work, be it in my family, be it with a new creation that I want to bring forth in the world, like a new business, or I want to get into a relationship, I want to find the beloved. And it all has to do with that life-giving energy that runs through us at all times. Without it, we wouldn't be alive. It is powerful. It is so powerful that it can bring forth new life. So if it can bring forth new life, then it can bring forth other dimensions of ourselves. So in our work, in our practice, we both practice and we teach how to draw on that life-giving energy that is sexual, that is creative, that is pleasurable in nature, how to draw on it so that we can create ourselves and, use it as fuel into realizing our dreams.
Yeah, we aren't really teaching you anything new. We're reminding you of what you've forgotten. Because at the beginning in the womb, we were just, life was simple. We didn't even think about food. We were fed. And then all of a sudden we're born and our brains start developing and we go through good days, bad days, ups and downs, and we learn ways to appropriate and survive it all. And then we get to a point in our life where we want to create something new that we've never experienced. So these practices are really about learning how to be what we call this curious witness of this clay we look into the world from all those experiences to move towards the dreamer in us. And it's possible for all of us, coming from that, just beneath all of what we call the upsets, the disconnects, Stella, I could have been a contender on this weather, or but how could she say this? All of that upset, just beneath that is ease, grace, and flow. So working consciously with life force or sexual energy, and we'll get into that as we go along, we are reminded of what we've forgotten, in that that's an altered state, that the intelligence of it is creative and pleasurable. And when we bring consciousness to that energy, that starts to show up as a default way of listing and being in our life.
I mean, we have a viewer that's watching and they want to wish you guys a happy Valentine's Day. I'm just taking notes as you guys are talking, and I'm hearing a lot of C words. I'm hearing core, creative, curious, cravings. There's a lot of C's in connection. As you guys are speaking, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of C's in connection that we don't speak about, that we don't share about. And I had reached out to you, Elsbeth, and I asked you about the cravings and the lusts and temptations, because there's so much shame against those words. And with everything that's going on in today's world, connection is seen in a different eye today than it used to be. The connection between a couple was private, where now it's more open. Where do you guys see the change in today's world compared to 20 years ago?
Yeah, one big thing is really that with the onset of the internet, with the onset of social media, with the onset of digital connection, that in some way we may digitally connected, but we may have lost, when we are in the same room with a person, to connect. And that is really what our work is about, to deepen the connection with self, and out of that deepen the connection with a beloved, with my child, with my grandchild, with my business partner, with my employee, with my boss, whatever, a friend. Because that has something to do with our nervous system and being our authentic self. If I am not connected with myself, I cannot connect to my beloved. I can have sex with that person, but there are different levels of connecting with the sexual energy. One way is that two bodies come together, and that's totally fine. It's not good or bad. It's just one level of experience. And there are so many other levels that we can connect and flourish and create together. Really, tapping into that pleasure field that we all have come with, because our nervous system is set up for that. So back to your question, it is cultivating that connection with self in a visceral, tangible way, and with others. Be that a beloved, it can also be a friend. It's that life force energy doesn't show up in aroused sexual forms. It can show up in bringing the life force energy into the heart, and the heart connection, like this connection. Can you see this here? Like where we connect heart to heart and have a circuit. And we love to do this every day. We have these we call them tantric quickies, to cultivate. And that is not that we jump into the bed, that we have sex. It is connecting. We breathe together in a synchronized way, so that we have that feeling of coming together and becoming one. And it's really heaven for 2 minutes. Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. These practices that we're talking about are very simple and approachable, and really experientially available to anyone who just allows themselves to let some of the thinking, the ego, the interpretation, our opinion, our position go. And some of these practices that we teach, all of them really, are practices that develop more capacity, familiarity, and accessibility to that very thing. When I mentioned earlier, this curious witness of ourselves, because oftentimes our belief in our ego and our internal looking externally looks like, one, we're subjected to the external, and two, that I'm fixed in my position, that we become resigned to even our own dreams or our own possibility. And really what we're finding out in science and in these modern times, and understanding that we are creating our reality. And once we really start to move into that, we can really actually at some point, flip it into peace on earth. I mean, most folks will fight about that, but this is getting a little bit more existential and broad, from like, I just want to be in love with my beloved here. And that's where it starts, because it starts individually right now, right here. And this stuff is moment by moment. And I know that when I'm in conscious sexual meditation, I'm reminded of what I've forgotten in terms of that altered state. Because when we're in our sexual energy, we're in an altered state. You might not think of it that way, but you think, okay, well, I'm more loving, open, vulnerable, receptive in the moment, right? Chemically, I'm changed, more endorphin, serotonin, oxytocin, the feel-good hormones. So chemically, I'm changed. So when we turn into meditation, along with all the other things we can do sexually with ourselves or with our partners or to create life, we can also use it to use it as a meditation. So with intention in that altered state, I'm more unmasked to what I would like to create. I'd like to create more loving moments with my beloved. I'd like to create work that's fulfilling or a place that's inspiring, whatever it might be. We start to see what we do unconsciously to create what we're getting. And I don't want to get too much into that, but just do the practices and you find out for yourself what's possible.
And that's why I love having you guys at this table, because you guys open that connection, right? That people don't look at sex in a dirty way, intimacy. And intimacy is something that we don't even talk about in today's society. We talk about sex, we talk about the titles, we talk about who we're in love with. But just you hearing that word beloved from you, Freddie, to Elsbeth, like it's welcoming, right? It opens that heart. It connects the souls together. And that's what I love about you guys, because you come in here and you talk about desire in a clean way, a way that is not taught in today's society. And that's why I really wanted to have you guys as my first ones for season 7, because I wanted people to see that we have to start opening the connection, opening the mind to the nervous systems, our inner selves, our connection with oneself. Elsbeth, we talked about this a few times, me and you privately, on getting to love ourselves, opening that connection and awareness of self-love. Once we learn the self-love, then we move to the beloved love. And Freddie talked about this in season 4 and season 5. We talked about the sexual connection and stuff like that. We also talked a little bit about their book. We're not going to talk too much about this book today, but if you guys want to check out this book, it's really good. I got it and it helped me a lot. It got me to understand a lot of things. And that's why I wanted to dig more into the lust and the cravings and stuff like that with you both, because people look at that as a dirty feeling. I have lust, but you can have lust for your beloved one, not for somebody outside of the marriage or outside of the relationship. You can have lust for each other. We had a question that came in and it says, what's the difference between how they can create healthy connections, lust, temptations, and cravings? What's the difference between each of those ones?
Between lust and cravings, they are very close. So I want to say that with first and foremost, how we approach our sexual self is there is no good or bad or right or wrong. There is no judgment. There is more a challenge to acknowledge that at certain moments I have lusty feelings. I feel horny, and that's very much guided by my sexual center. The sexual energy is a desirous energy. That is why we love it so much. It feels so great, and it can show up in different gradations. Sometimes it shows up as lust. it feels horny. It feels like, oh, I cannot stay away from it. Just like when something that I like to eat, be it chocolate or whatever, ice cream, whatever it may be. For some people, it's something salty. I cannot stay away from it, It's the same impulsiveness, like there is built into our nervous system, into the desirous being that we are as human beings, which is really great because that's part of why we have been procreating. If there wasn't desire in that energy, we wouldn't give, a damn about the other gender. We wouldn't procreate. So that energy encapsulates pleasure and creativity. It's a creative energy and it's a pleasurable energy. And that pleasurable energy can show up in different ways at different moments. Because sometimes I may feel that coming up from my sexual center that in Sanskrit is called, for the woman, is called a yoni. I brought her here, the purple one. So yoni means sacred space. And that even you can hear it, the translation of yoni is very different than sexual center or vagina or all kinds of other not so pleasing, names for it. So it's that I may feel it from my yoni center, yet I'm yearning for a connection here. It's not just boom, 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 sex, 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 which is fine. There's nothing wrong about it. But we may not don't want to fool ourselves that is a deep connection because it's very fleeting. It's just like when I satiate that craving for a piece of chocolate. I eat it and then it's gone. Then I need another one. And then I need another one. So how can we cultivate a connection of that desirous self with the heart self and connect from here then with the beloved, which can produce much greater fulfillment and more lasting?
Well, we had some questions that came in that I want to get out to you guys, but then we're going to pivot into the primary energy that you guys wanted to talk about today. But the first question that came in is, you teach that desire is connected to life force. How did you each come to understand this personally?
Could you repeat the question?
You teach that desire is connected to life force. How did you each come to understand this personally?
Okay, good. That kind of dovetails from the last question, but so I'll pick it up where, lust is selfish love. Agape is like love for everything. And you can transcend the selfish love by learning some discipline around that. For the man in the tantric practices, it's learning how to separate ejaculation from orgasm. And this is how I was first introduced to these practices. So there's a desire that I had when I was very young to go on to college on athletic scholarship. I was living in Hawaii, 13 years old, going through my puberty time, spending a lot of lusting time in the shower. As a lot of guys are when they're going through their puberty. My father, who happened to be a practicing psychiatrist, gave me a book to read on how to integrate sex and meditation. So I loved it. My girlfriend loved it. But more than that, it assisted me in that altered state that I mentioned earlier to get to my belief about that I couldn't go on to college. Well, I started to believe and really encapsulate the vibration and belief of that. I did all the things you would do to go on to college in terms of practice and winning games and clinics and blah, 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 blah. But I did it without the resignation, without the disbelief, without the suffering that it could never happen. And so in today's life, my life, I can recognize my lust. I can recognize the agape, the love for all. And what's important in our relationship is to have clear agreements. Now, agreements oftentimes are constructed from something that is believed to be the only way it can be. Yet once we really start to take authorship of our lives, we can start to choose the relationship we want to create. It's having the courage to be able to speak what it is you'd like in your relationships. Because oftentimes in relationship, it's the fear of what the other might think or do if you speak what you would like. And so that's the opportunity in this life, to really be authentic in what we'd like to create in our life, how we'd like to live our life. Because I don't know what's before or after, but I don't think it's this. I mean, there's a lot of stories about, 1,000 virgins or St. Peter or living forever, coming back. I don't know what's true or what isn't. But I know that this life seems to be from beginning. I don't remember really. There maybe be something before in terms of past lives and so on. And then suddenly I'm born and I have this life and I go to sleep and then we pass on. So it's how can we be totally self-actualized, fulfilled, and happy in this life, in this time. That's what all this work is about.
Yeah, that's really great that you brought that up. Speaking one's truth in relationship. We have been together now for 25 years. We met on the internet. I had gotten certified as a Tantra teacher shortly before I met Freddy. The whole tantric training was really for me to get clear of what was in the way for me to bring lasting intimacy and love into my life. I had love and intimacy in my life, but with unavailable men, and I knew there was something in the way. And the tantric healing and practice allowed me to tap into the most vulnerable unconscious dimension within me, because it's not through the head, this form of learning and shifting and transforming. It's through our body, through our senses, through our emotions that we discover unconscious beliefs. And what I discovered was that I had held distrust towards men, which I didn't know. So that was all cleared. And then 6 months later, Freddy came into my life. I already was on the way of wanting to create a Tantra school in Chicago. And there I meet this guy on the internet who grew up in a tantric household. I mean, I got much more than I ever could think of, dream of.
So be careful of what you dream and hope for, because when your dreams come true, what do? When all your dreams come true.
And Miss Liz, that a big part of, I feel that we are still together, has had to do with that we dedicated ourselves to speaking our truth, to listening for our truth, even at moments when that is uncomfortable. And when we didn't speak the truth, there was a learning to be gotten from and returning to what was true for us then in the moment, because then in those moments, we can alter our agreements or we can specify our agreements further. Like in relationship, two big issues or places where we can go apart or have differences is money and sex. These are the two key. There may be others, but they are very important. And then, we may not speak the truth about our desire or desires, both in what we want in the outer world and then what we also may want in the intimate realm. And to reveal ourselves there, it requires courage, because revealing yourself means that you are vulnerable. For me to share with Freddy what my innermost desire is in and out of the bedroom, that is very delicate. It's vulnerable. And, we grew up with this. When we do our workshops, there's a process where people, get to look at, it's like tapping into their subconscious self, because there are the old stories, the decisions they have made. And many come back from that story and say, I had this when I was 5 years old or 12 years old, I had an orgasm. It was like, I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't know how to move with it. I didn't talk to anybody about it. But then in puberty, I did this, regularly, and it was my secret. So early on, we learn to have intimate feelings, desirous feelings, pleasure, blissful pleasure, that we hold it, it has to be secret. I couldn't talk about this with my mother. She would have hit me. You know, there is a lot of, I mean, not in every household, but in many, you know, or the story from your show,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, I totally concur that, we are, socialized to be ashamed of our deepest desires and intimacy. Into me, I see. So in the practices that we are teaching, it's really how to be a curious, again, witness of that story making that we've appropriated as the truth in terms of belief about not sharing ourselves. So in like relationships, for instance, you could create relationships that have a time frame. You could say, well, we'll be monogamous for 2 years, and then we'll look at opening our relationship or bringing somebody in or a couple in. And if you both can be willing to try something without having to live with something that doesn't work forever, because that's how you felt at the moment, till death do us part, it will always be this way or that way when you're changing all the time. Then you have a relationship that is dynamic, that you can actually grow and be alive, as opposed to you see so many relationships are just kind of tolerating each other and not living in their life, or they get divorced and then they create the same unconsciousness in the next relationship, as opposed to using the relationship as an opportunity to grow and transform and continue to expand.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't be deeply committed to each other and to the relationship. It is actually that commitment, I call it the arch, from the beginning of a relationship until death do us part, there is this arch of commitment, like an overall commitment. And within that commitment, we look at what is emerging, because we are different people now than 25 years ago, and lots has gone under the bridge in our lives, in our relationship. And we moved through different renditions, so to speak. There was a time when Freddy really wanted to open up the relationship and have sex with other women, and we spoke about it. And I agreed to it. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to work on my jealousy. Because as long as I am brutally jealous and possessive, I'm not really available to see the other in what is up for the other. Now, what I'm saying here really requires the willingness to look at oneself. I am just bringing this up as an example as we have evolved.
25 years.
Yeah, and then there came also a point after some time, after Freddy's engagement in that, when I got really clear that I actually didn't want him to go out anymore. And then I said that. And he was not only open to listen, he looked at it and decided for himself that he was willing, given that it was so important to me at that time. And he was also very clear that he didn't want to lose the relationship. I mean, I'm speaking here for you, but
that's the way it was. And, at the same token, years later, Elsbeth announced to me that she was in love with someone else. And for a few moments, I was kind of upset. And then I thought about it.
Few moments?
He thinks it was several days because it felt like it, but it was maybe 5 hours.
No.
But at any rate, I was very kind of like, how could you, just in my own patriarchal, masculine, jealousy, possessive stuff. And then I realized, well, she was so gracious with me. And so I was totally gracious with her. And I went with her to the guy and said, I'm not the jealous guy who's going to be coming after either of you. So I condoned everything. So my point here is that, in our 25 years together, we've been a lot of different ways, and we've been willing to be with each other through those changes. And that's not just till death do us part with the fine print, unless you really piss me off, which is, that's really living a life, because the life is dynamic and it's changing. So.
And Miss Liz, it's essential what the examples we just gave from our own life. We only have been able to do that by each of us looking at oneself. Because my happiness is not determined by Freddy. My happiness is determined by myself. And unless I'm willing to examine myself there and go there and free myself from being externally, referenced like the other one, Freddy has to be a certain way in order for me to be happy, to feel in love, to be connected, then I'm always dependent for happiness from the outside. And that it's a fallacy, it's an illusion. Now, I'm not saying that looking at myself and listening to what's right for me, and I'm not saying every relationship should go and follow now our example here, because it may not be right for you. You need to listen. If you are here in this conversation, listening and looking at yourself and your relationship, listen to what your heart desires, how you want to express yourself, how you may want to connect with your beloved.
And it's not like, well, you're in a relationship and you have, because I'm saying if something is a story for you that you're telling yourself, oh, I wish she was that and I wish that, but I can't because we've been together and I won't leave, but you're just angry at each other. You never even are kind to each other and you're just tolerating the situation. And you are unwilling to speak your truth or the other's unwilling to hear it, then you have to choose. You can choose to say, I'm going to stay in the relationship and let all of your story making and make wrong go and just choose to be in the relationship. Choose that, and then happiness starts to show up. Or you can choose to, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's something that is really dear to me, and I'm going to go do this thing and do whatever you need to do. But make a choice in your life. And then the suffering goes away.
Yeah. And we have lots and lots of examples of students and clients who have come through TantraNova who, now have this in their life, because you can imagine that a number of couples come to us who are at the brink of divorce. Other couples, they may love each other very much, but the spark went out of the relationship. Other couples come to us, they, are deeply in love, they are happy, they are connected, yet they feel, that they want to expand. They feel that it's something they haven't tapped into yet. So there is a whole range of couples who come. In each case, what's essential is that we are with that what is. Like if I'm at the brink of divorce, first let me acknowledge where I am at, how I feel, without blame, without accusation of the other, and looking, okay, who have I been in the matter? Because whatever goes on over there is then reflected in what comes from over here. Not necessarily in the same way as it looks over here, but energetically speaking, there is a reflection of my consciousness. Just like for me, when I was attracted to unavailable men, and that was a pattern. It was my frequency that actually tended towards the men who were not available. So it is an unconsciousness over here that has us face what we may not like. In a particular form, it shows up in the three-dimensional world. So, that there are couples who may get clear out of the work that they are no longer, the complementary frequency for each other. They have changed. There are couples, with differences, they come to us and they find each other in a new way to become coherent. And there are couples who say, okay, I'm not leaving this relationship and I'm fully with what is. And the two of them start living together in peace, in acknowledging their differences without suffering, but they have chosen, as Freddy earlier said, choose what you decide to live in, to live with, to live for.
Elsbeth, I want to get into the primary energies. Let's talk about that a bit, because the connection of energy, the connection of oneself, we're talking about a lot of self-love in that as well. From the conversation that I'm getting today from you guys is, we really got to talk to ourselves, have that openness with ourselves, what we desire, what our desires are, how we can connect in a relationship and say, you know what, I would like to do this. How do you feel about it? And as soon as you felt uncomfortable, you were able to have that conversation and say, this is not working. Like Freddy, like you had the 3 days of, no, this is not going to work for me. But Elsbeth, how long did you feel that way? But you had that time to connect and talk and communicate about it. For my couples that are watching tonight and this afternoon and this evening, wherever you're tuning in from, I want to talk about the connection, the primary energy of bringing each other together. So let's talk about that for a bit.
Yeah. So for me, there was a reawakening like 8-10 years ago in my own sexual self, which I hadn't anticipated. I'm 76 years old, so I was 66, 67. And my sexual energy had been dormant, after menopause. And I was so focused on TantraNova and the business. And there was a reawakening. And it was a huge reawakening. So that exploration into my primal energy started out really with encountering myself anew and even facing my primal energy. Primal energy is that energy that brought us into this life. So it is with us our entire life. And it shows up often in subtle states, and then at times it stays up in very high aroused states, or even in being like in that, energy that is a little bit higher a lot of the time. That we think more about pleasure, more our desires are more a present moment thing that is with us. And one of the big openings for me was, and has been because it continues, is to acknowledge my own primal self that is so unreflected, that is so impulsive, that overcomes you, and to acknowledge that this is who I am. It's not to suppress it or oppress it, or that I get so obsessed by it that it has me and I no longer have it. Because as a human being, I can actually learn to acknowledge this energy, to be with this energy, to breathe into this energy, and to transmute it, not to cut it off, not to make it go away. No, to actually use it as a fuel for my whole body, for my health, for my bliss feelings, my heart expression, also into my third eye, into my intuition, and into my creative pursuits, and into fueling the relationship. So out of that acknowledgement and tuning with my primal energy, I feel I have become further integrated, because my primal energy and my cosmic self are one. They are two sides of the same coin. And I think it becomes more of an issue when our primal energy is separate from our cosmic self. The cosmic self doesn't make that primal energy like, oh, it's all great, now I can follow it. No, there is a wisdom in the cosmic and a natural aliveness in the primal. And so I can learn to integrate them. So flow it up, the primal, and then the wisdom of the cosmic moves down. So they inform each other. That doesn't mean that I stop the pleasure. No, the pleasure becomes more informed by the cosmic. I can be aware of it. I can, undulate in it. I can feel it. It oozes out of me and then, of course, into my everyday life. And that is what I can bring to my partner, which again requires courage to share my experiences, how I would like him to be with me, to listen to me, to engage with me. And of course, it requires an open partner.
I was watching Freddy's expression when you were moving, the movement of your body. Freddy, does that turn you on, the movement of Elsbeth's? I seen your eyes light up as she was doing the flow.
Yeah, I think it does.
For all the male listeners out there, you guys know what Miss Liz is talking about. I seen that glow in your eye, Freddy, when she was moving her arms and the flow of the connection of the energy in that. Now, when Elsbeth moves a certain way, is that a turn on? Is that a desire? Does that bring you closer to her?
There's an awareness that happens, and in that awareness, there is an awakening of the moment, because I can, like all of us, retreat into my thoughts and my memories and my analysis of the moment. So the awareness of the energy in the moment brings it into a more realistic reality of now, which is, the opportunity, because we miss a lot of now. And, we think of time as the future or the past, and all there really is moments of now. So the more I can be conscious, the more fully I'm experiencing my life. So yes, there's an alive awakening when she does certain movements in my energy. I can become aware. And that's the thing, is it doesn't have to go to like, oh, I got to do something to her, or I got to do something. I can be enlivened by that movement and then breathe that aliveness that I'm feeling into my heart, which then wakens up a whole connection of heart, energy, as opposed to thrusting energy. Interesting for men, because men are we're really very wonderful beings in a lot of ways, yet we are socialized to have really two emotions that socially are okay to exude, which are, excuse my French, fucking or fighting. But intimacy or tenderness or nurturing is not like something guys are, modeled to do. Don't cry on the football field, but when we feel our sexual energy and we're in those 3 seconds of orgasmic moment, anything's possible. We're connected, we're loving, we're vulnerable, we're receptive, we're intimately connected. So it appears often for the woman, when we get the erection and we want to connect, it looks like it's selfish. I just want something for myself, but we really want to connect to that bigger piece. So for the man, and all the variations of Tantra there are, and we're TantraNova, Tantra New, so we're integrating aspect of the Western approach to transformation and the Eastern approach to transformation. So, but of all the variations that there are, one of the primary edicts is for the man to learn to separate ejaculation from orgasm. And a lot of guys on the surface hear that and say, well, I don't need that because I'm not a quick comer. I can last as long as I want. But I'm not talking about lasting longer. I'm talking about consciously circulating what is, I call the orgasmic nectar, that orgasmic moment. So you can extend that 3 seconds into a half hour, an hour, for as long as you want. And it's living in that altered state for a longer period of time using energy awareness, muscle awareness, breath awareness. And you can actually learn to do it. Anybody in a body, men can learn to do it. And then what happens is we start to transcend the unconscious automaticity of wanting to just thrust and get to that moment. We can start to breathe into the subtleties of that energy. And that when we bring it to the heart for the man, opens up the listening for the woman, because now it's transcended lust, selfish love, or appearance of.
I want to say something about masculine energy, because it is such a wonderful energy, that testosterone energy. It's very powerful. And really to celebrate that energy, because we women, we are the yin energy. And I'm talking about the yin. So in couplehood, there's only attraction and magnetism when there's polarity, like yin and yang, the symbol, one is black, one is white symbol. That is the polarity. and the yin or feminine energy, and that energy doesn't show up just in one gender. It could be a same-sex couple or a bisexual couple or a transgender couple. It doesn't, or of course the heterosexual couple, so that there's one more in their yin energy and the other one more in their yang energy. The yang energy is the linear, the straight, the protruding, the intentional, the directional, like this here, this is straight up. Unlike this here, this is round and circular. And if we were both straight in relationship, we would just miss each other. We would go in parallel, but there's no
Polarity.
magnetism. Yeah. If we were like this, like, circular and flowing and creative and playful, and, it would be, but this and this is wonderful. They complement each other. So I really want to remind all of us, this yang testosterone energy is a wonderful energy because it is a driving energy. And the woman energy is often not that driving. We have, lots of estrogen, which is a slow hormone. And so we want that support. At the same time, in the tantric practice, the men get supported in a way of how he can use and make use of that powerful energy so that he can come further into his power by connecting his sex energy with his heart and love energy, because that is where he can reach the partner better. Because most women, when they want to connect, they start feeling it in their heart center, or the one who is in their yin energy. Most men, or the one who is in their yang energy, when they want to connect, they start feeling it in their sexual center. We both want to connect, but we come from different loci, different places, And so in the tantric practice, what Freddy spoke about, that separating of ejaculation from orgasm has something to do with that he can learn to master a muscle in the pelvic floor that goes around the penis, a muscular ring where my hand is here. And this ring, muscular ring, starts quivering right before the ejaculation. In service like this, it quivers, 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 in order to eject the ejaculate. When the ejaculate gone, the energy is gone.
Refractory.
Yes. So in the tantric practice, a man can learn to sustain and circulate this energy by learning how to master that quiver. It's a reflex. We women have it too. That reflex usually even embellishes the wonderful pleasure feeling. For us women, it's not we don't lose energy when that starts quivering. Men do. And for men to be able to circulate and sustain this wonderful testosterone energy, he wants to learn how to master that muscle in the pelvic floor and learn how to use the conscious breath so that he can breathe up the pleasure, the excitement from his wonderful sexual center up into his heart. That is not that wonderful pleasure energy gets diminished. No, it gets spread out. And the intensity in the sexual center that wants to be expelled, like the ejaculation, but then he loses the energy and then it's over, And so many men come to us young, in their 20s, all the way up into their 60s and 70s. And when they connect with that, often ED, like, what is it called?
Erectile dysfunction.
Erectile dysfunction, goes away. They become more connected to themselves. They have more energy because it's life force energy that then gets used in the heart, in the body, and he can stay present with me.
Yeah, the mechanics of this, as Elsbeth was explaining, are teachable, learnable to anyone who's willing. Yet what happens in terms of the energetic and the emotional aspects for men in transcending the unconsciousness that we have appropriated as the only way to tap into that energy starts to expand. And that's what really opens up more connection with our partners.
Let's talk about the workshops that you guys are doing. Time is running out really fast. And then I want to get Freddy just to pop up your book, because we're going to get Freddy back this year again for a second tea time for his new memoir that just came out. So we'll talk about that. But get out the workshops that you guys have coming up. So if anybody would like to sign up or all that good stuff, so we can get that out.
Oh, thank you so much. So tomorrow we have a Valentine's Tantric Bodywork class. In the afternoon. So in the afternoon, you can either come in person if you live in the Chicago area, or you can also participate online by Zoom. So if that is of interest, just go to our website and go to programs and then to introductory, or just send us TantraNova at TantraNova.com, because it comes up tomorrow. So it's very short. Then in April, we have a 3-day workshop called Secrets to Lasting Intimacy for couples and singles, men and women. And then monthly, we do an introductory evening. So if you want to just put your toe into the water, that's great as well. The next one is on March 4th. It's a 2-hour online workshop on Zoom, where you learn more about the practices, get to do some practices. We talk about the sexual healing rituals. So, and then, of course, a good place is also the book, our book, Ms. Liz, that you held up earlier, to get started. Because there's so much laid out in that book that will assist you on your own tantric journey.
This book really helped me a lot, and I really want to thank you guys for it. Made me understand myself a little bit more. I thought I was going to get like a lot of understanding couples, but I understood myself more, my self desires, and that as well, and the awareness of not always connecting with a partner that doesn't have the same desires as I do. So I got a lot from that book. So I want to thank you guys for that. Freddie, if you want to hold up your memoir, we're going to get you back on Tea Time for that. But Freddie wrote a memoir. Freddie, if you just want to give a little blip about the new memoir.
Yeah. So this is a book of my stories. We all have, a life story. And these are some of my stories, and really pertaining to the through line as to how I came to teach this work the last 25 years, and all the experiences that have really served me in good stead to do this work that I've been doing. Good days, bad days, up days. And so these are just a few of the excerpts from my life. And hopefully it will open for others looking at it to think about their own through line and what is their happiness. Because sometimes we're doing something that we're doing it for reasons other than that we really love it, and it's part of who we've really grown up to be. So how can we live more into our authentic selves? And hopefully this could be an opportunity for people to be inspired to do more of that.
Zental, My Tantric Journey, that is the title of the book, and I highly recommend it. It's humorous, it's candid, it's raw. Freddy has a very unusual upbringing, and it's so entertaining at the same time, and courageous to share his own life story. I don't know if I would be ready for that. So really great job, darling.
But I really want to thank you guys for joining me today. And for all my listeners out there, I couldn't do this, guys, without you. For all the couples out there on Valentine's Day, today is a day of connection, but not only on Valentine's Day. We have 365 days. Make it a Valentine's Day every day. I want, you can have the blissful love 365 days, not just one day. So I want to thank you guys for that. Again, the listeners, thank you for tuning in. We are starting season 7, so we are kicking into the Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today is just a special day. So I just want to do a wrap up of what today's tea time was. And I want to thank you guys. And I want to wish you guys a happy Valentine's Day. And thank you for all of the comments and support throughout the years. I couldn't have done this. You can also find Elsbeth and Freddy's tea times in season 4, season 5, and season 7. So you can find 3 different episodes of their incredible work that they've done, and you can find little different pieces and put them together and get some out of everything, because that's what Miss Liz likes to do. I like to give you guys a little bit of my guess, one bit at a time. As we close this beautiful tea time, my heart just feels full. Elsbeth and Freddy, thank you. Thank you for your courage you carry in speaking about intimacy in a way that honors dignity. Thank you for reminding us that pleasure can be conscious, that desire can be wise, that life force energy, when respected, becomes love, not chaos. You didn't just give us information today. You gave language to feeling people may have struggled to understand. You gave reassurance that being human does not mean being shameful. And you gave permission not to act recklessly, but to live consciously. To all the listeners, here is something for you to sit with after this cup. What if your aliveness is not something to mute, but something to steward? What if the energy inside you is not meant to control, but to be understood, guided, and honored? This cup offers you awareness. It offers you maturity. It offers you a deeper way to look at intimacy, starting within yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it alters your freedom for a little bit of unnecessary shame. May you leave this tea time feeling more at peace with your own humanity, more compassionate towards your own desires, and more intentional with the energy you bring into your relationships. Elsbeth and Freddy, thank you for pouring your wisdom into this space once again. And to everyone listening, take this cup with you until the next tea time. And I'll see everybody on Tuesday with 2 new teacups.